We started with the sheep, commercial sheep, back in the mid-'80s. So about 84, 85, and then, we got into, purebred merinos. There weren't many in Canada at the time, and it just snowballed from there. But now, because of the quality and the quantity of merino that we need, it needs to come from Australia because of these, super fine there. They've got what we think is the best quality, and the mills that we deal with, they source really nice merino for us. You'll see with the Pepino and with the 100%, like the fin, the springiness to it, how soft it is. So it's a gorgeous product. I think it's a gorgeous product. I hope other people do too. We did do an organic line. It didn't take the dyes the same way. We didn't have the same vibrancy. I know people like it, but it was a lot of pastels. And I like the superwash. I want vibrant colors, and it takes easier, for us. So, but we also recently had a whole new, just over a year ago, new system put in of a reverse osmosis water and a whole new water treatment system in there for us. So, and it's changed the colors. It's made them more vibrant. It's made them, the depth of color is really nice. So, and it goes a bit quicker too. I get some of the brightest, crispest colors when it's a low ceiling. When we have really big storms, and the thunderstorms, you get really. I know you think seriously, it's bizarre, but weather can affect it. Of course, by doing certain things, leaving it in longer, leaving it in shorter, you get different color variations. So if you want something a bit more muted, you can leave it in a bit longer. Some of them I leave in overnight, so to get the color to absorb better. So it'll be a stronger color. Some of the light colors, the one thing that is some of the dyes I use with the light colors, they adhere very fast, but they don't penetrate well. Through the way I dye, especially with the hanks, it's applied, and it doesn't always go right the way through, so you have to turn the yarn and reapply it to make sure you have a good color. Even though they are hand dyed, I like to have a good consistency through the colorways. So, and I have all the recipes, of course. But yeah, you get dark ones that you'll get dark dyes that don't penetrate, but they adhere fast, and then you'll get very bright dyes that'll do just the opposite. We actually had yarn analyzed by a computer. Your human eye could not see it. Of that 16 colors that I applied, the computer said there was actually over 300 colors in that. So once the things, they started blending together. And I was like, wow, it's fascinating to me too. Now I do all protein fibers, I don't do cellulose. If I was doing cellulose or I was doing a synthetic, it's a whole different ballgame again. When I'm mixing the dye, because all the dye, my colors are exclusive to me. I get them in from several different suppliers, and I blend my colors myself. So when I am mixing them, you have to have minimal air movement. I cannot have windows open. I lock the doors just in case somebody comes in because it travels so easily. So, and with the 1 kilo ones that we do, it's a hank that's about, I should bring pictures of it, it's about yay big. And so I dye it because I want the color consistency right the way through the colorway or the dye lot. We do it this way, and then I apply the different dyes, and so it depends on what effect I want. I'll do lengthwise, I'll do widthwise, I do crosses, I do all different things in it, and then I apply the stipples, and then the effect changes. But yeah, names like some of these. This is one very much like this called Splash because it looks, like you're on the beach with the water. Orioles and elms. Orioles that we have, orchard Orioles, or now they call them northern Orioles. It's the colors of them in the elm trees. So
what's the story behind Rhichard?
Yes.
Rhichard was actually going to be named something else, but I don't get so. I'm not always allowed to do as I please. So I get reined in sometimes. So, and it was going to be called something else, and my partner didn't think it would be good marketing. So that's how come it got changed to Rhichard. So.
Is that on all of your bases?
Sorry, yeah, we do everything. All the colorways are done in all bases.
All bases. Okay.
So. So, I mean, and there are ones, I have over 900 combinations of variegateds. So then there's always the semi-solids too you put in there. We may not do it all the time. Nothing is discontinued. So there's nothing discontinued, but as we know, the Pantone colors and everything that happens, so some are really popular now, some they fade out, you know, something new is coming in. So it was sitting there, I think something was happening with the dogs out in the field, and all of a sudden I left this pan on the stove for way too long, and I was like, ugh. And I got so pissed off that I just started applying dye to it. I just want to get this done, get this out of the pan, and it turned out actually really nice. And so we now have Distracted.
And do you remember how you did it to do it again?
That is something I try to write everything down. Okay. I try. There are times when I don't, and then I have to recreate it, and that can be, I generally can do it, but I mean, it takes some effort sometimes, because even I'm like, what did I do here? Because I have ones, the Hanks, when I dye in Hank, I treat it as 4 sides. Okay, so I mean, it's got basically, we'll say this is it, it's open at this end. I try it because you want the color to penetrate. So I check all 4 sides. There are some that I dye certain colors on this side, then it's turned, other colors are applied, and then each side's getting different colors. So, and then they blend together. And so you've got something that's totally, so I have to keep track of, okay, side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4, you know, how it's done. And then you have to be able to keep that, I need to be able to keep that consistent.
So you must have an amazing treasury of notes.
I do. I know, and not everything, and some of, well, I try to put everything on the computer, so there are, you know, some of it's on computer. We also have paper. I still use paper. I still use books like this. You know, I still jot stuff down as I'm doing it. It also sometimes has to do with the mood I'm in. So, I mean, if Neil Young's playing, don't come in. It's not a good thing. I mean, I like Neil Young, but everybody knows, do not come in that building right now because it's not going to be good. He's in the mood. So, but I put my earbuds in. Do you like him? I like him too. I do like him, but it means that I'm not in a great mood. That's what I put on. But there are times when I put on really beboppy music. I mean, I put my earbuds in. I'm scared that people are going to look in the window sometimes because I'm dancing around like a fool. So I am, but that's fun. You know, it's what makes it, for me, it's a lot of fun. It's great exercise too. So
because you're like a chef.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It is. So I mean, and so I actually should do a YouTube video of me dancing around. So but I am not attractive when I am in that. I have got a bandana around my head. I have shirts on that generally have pots, you know, all holes in it because they've been caught on pans or something as I'm moving around. I spend most of the year, even in the winter, in a pair of shorts and t-shirts because it's hot in there. Like the last week, of course, it's been weather like this at home. There's no air conditioning. I can't have air conditioning in the building because I can't have that air moving. So I mean, when I'm not applying dye, there are fans that go on to draw out the moisture and that, but I can't have that air movement because with the stipples and that, it would blend too much for what I want. So in there, I have a thermometer with a humidity gauge and everything else. It's been like in the vicinity of 28, 29 degrees in there and 44% humidity. I mean, I drip. So I go through the shirts. I have to change, but this time of the year I try to start dyeing a bit earlier. I try to start like 7, 8 area, and I will only do for so long, and then I stop, and then I will go back and do it in the evening when it's cool.
How long does it take you to dye up a batch for a yarn store?
Depends on how much they order. You know, it'll be, you know, on what they're ordering. I try to have stuff in stock. I try. Feed, I am dyeing at the moment. I cannot dye it fast enough. So it's just taken off. So everything, it's dyed to order. I mean, the order comes in. I try to, I like to see orders go up within the month of them coming in. It's not always possible. You know, it's depending on what's happening. Some are easier to dye than others. You know, there are certain ones. Softly. I mean, softly. It's fairly simple to dye. It looks great, and it sells really well, but it's a simple one to dye. Other ones, because the dyes that are in, have to sit for a longer period of time to make sure you get that absorbency in there. And I can't move it. I have chopsticks, and I gently, or else you get mud again. You know, the colors are not going to stick to that area. They're going to start bleeding down the sides or something, and it does not look attractive. So that's it. So yeah, it can vary. You know, stipples take a long time because I can't move them. Once that dye's on, I can't jiggle that pan or anything because then you're not going to get a dot. You're going to get a blotch. So. But that is a problem. So I have hit a pan just afterwards. It's not really going to make a big effect, but there are certain, because again, with some of the stipples, there's a lot of dye on there, and all of a sudden I have knocked into it, you know, so all of a sudden we have country casual dark. So I've only been knitting for about the last 5-6 years. I started off with the sheep. We had the sheep shorn. I spun. I did dyeing of fleece. I was a weaver. That's how my big thing was. I had 6 looms. I wove a lot of cloth. I did a lot of tapestries. I used to do high-end, like the one-of-a-kind show in Toronto for arts and crafts. You have, I don't know what's here, Circle Arts or Circle Craft in Vancouver, that type of thing. So I did garments, vests, jackets, or runners for the carpet or for the floors and that type of stuff. So I forgot where I was going with this. Isn't it squirrel?
You just started knitting 5 years ago.
Oh, knitting. Yeah. Sorry. So that's where my thank you. That's where my thing was. I really enjoyed the weaving, and I would put on 30 yards of warp and do the fabric. But I would get people who say, "What? You don't knit?" And I'm like, "No, sorry, I don't knit. I don't know yet, how to." I had wonderful people that wanted to teach me how to knit, and some of them were very well known in the industry. I didn't want them to teach. I wanted my mom. I wanted my mom to be the person who taught me how to.
And what
she did. She influenced because I had people closer, and all of a sudden I wanted to learn how to knit. Now I want to learn certain things, and so it was hard. She's 2 hours away, so I couldn't. And she's busy, still with business, and so she didn't have the time, or else it would be hard for me. So all of a sudden I did. So she did give me the basics and that type of stuff, but I did learn most of it from just doing over and over and over. And I do a lot of cowls and a lot of hats because I like doing cowls and hats because you can say one more row and they don't know where it ended and where it stopped. So just keep on going. So that's it. So, and I do because when I knit mainly when I'm traveling. I like knitting in public, even though it may not be Worldwide Knit in Public Day, because I find if you're sitting on a plane and you're knitting, I have had flight attendants go, "I put a project down 3 months ago. I need to pick it back up." And you're engaging people. For me, it's about the engagement. It's talking to people. It's getting to know people, seeing what they do. You're getting to learn a little bit about their life. And that's the thing that's getting lost, And people say to me, "You're old-fashioned." I don't think it's being old-fashioned. I think it's still, doing something that's traditional. You can turn it to something that's contemporary, but it's all about value. To me, it's still about values and just standards and stuff like that. That you just need to know how to do certain things.
Space that you need.
It has to be stored. When yarn comes in, we are ordering yarn sometimes by the metric ton.
Oh my
and
God.
I wonder why Robert starts to twitch. When you are laying out a lot of money for yarn, and of course, they're in New Zealand, they're in Italy, they're somewhere. They aren't going to ship it unless they have their money. It's lovely to be trustworthy, but I'm overseas. That type of thing. So it is. All of a sudden I see this man start to go I understand why now. So I look at those invoices and I'm like, ooh. So that's why you got to make sure it's the dyes are good that you're using. Because we can't throw stuff away.
Good work.
So on the farm, where I dye now, my dye studio used to be our ram barn. So it's been converted and is now the dye studio. We're on 8 acres. My old weaving studio is now the inventory building. and we are built into a hill, so the walkout is now where we do the reeling, the office, and packaging and shipping is all done from there. So we are actually looking at moving. We need to be able to increase production, so we need a better facility, because of course the property wasn't built for having a business on. So we're actually looking at moving east to Nova Scotia or New Brunswick. So, and land's a little cheaper out there too.
Yeah.
So, and Lucy, sorry?
So land's a lot cheaper.
So we get Lucy Neatbeat, sending us little messages. Have you looked at
Sending you
messaging? And it's great. So it'll be a new adventure if it happens. It's having to again find the proper place, be able to do it. We're in Aberfoyle, which is just south of Guelph, and the farm was built in 1837. It wasn't the original inn for the area. The barn was empty and no animals, and so barns start to deteriorate if there's no livestock in them because they're not being looked after. I had done research on different farm animals. I wanted to be able to show something. I also wanted to be able to travel. So looked at dairy goats. Well, I thought, it's going to be hard enough to get somebody to look after the farm, try to get them to milk them too. Looked at Angora goats, like them, bucks stink. That's the unfortunate thing with goats. Bucks stink terribly. And I started, after buying the commercial sheep, we went from 2 to 3 to getting more, and I was doing research at the University of Guelph on different breeds and found out there were not a large number of Merinos in Canada, which made me want them. So, if there weren't a large quantity, I want it. So we did a trip for my 19th birthday. We had looked at 2 different farms that had purebred Merinos. One was in Ohio, one was in New York State. The one in New York State was an hour closer. It was only an 8-hour drive, and it was Moorhouse Farm, and which is right by the Rhinebeck Sheep and Wolf Festival. They're in that area. And so my partner for 8 hours said to me, "We're only going to look." And I kept hearing, "We're only going to look." And we got to the farm. And farming 2 hours north of New York City is done a little differently than other places in the U.S. and in Canada. The farm right across the street was owned by the president of Pepsi Cola. So, it was a gorgeous farm. They swear the animals were trained for the people that were visiting, because you'd have the front door open of the house and the back door open, and the peacocks and chickens would walk through the house and not poop. It was so picturesque. So we walked into this field, and it was the show flock for that year, and there was this ram named Peppino and 5 girls. And so the girls walked away, and Margaret, one of the owners, went up and said, "Hi, Peppino." She rubbed him under the chin. He was just so gorgeous. And it's the ram that's on our old label. And Robert said, "How much?" So, and I, of course, wanted to say, "I thought we're only coming to look." I knew well enough just to keep my mouth shut. By the end of the weekend, we had bought their show string for that year under the condition that they would still show them. So they were going to finish showing it for the year, the fall fairs through the U.S. and all that. And so I went down and helped show. We had to have quarantine and everything at that time with them. And by the time the 6 original animals came to Canada, there was already 12. So
they were busy.
There was 12, and then we got natural color Merinos, and then we end up with 54 at the height of it. So all pets, all breeding stock, all wool. We won a number of awards for best fleece at different festivals, like Royal Winter Fair in Toronto. And so, a hobby became more of a passion. I started to spin. What are you going to do with all this fiber? So we started to spin. We then had shipped it to, the people in Carson? They're in Carson.
Custom.
So Custom Woolen Mills. So they used to spin some of our Merino, and I found, looking at what they have downstairs, it looks exactly the same almost as what they used to spin for us. But it sold. It was a rustic yarn. It was done in natural colors, and a lot of it went to the U.S. So, and we were doing that. We also were selling breeding stock, so to different people. So they ended up going, back to the U.S. because we were showing them. We had animals sold in Canada, and because we treated them as pets, we found out, some not nice stories about how people were treating them. So that's actually one of the reasons we stopped breeding, because it was just too hard on us to find out what had been happening to them. But with I took up weaving. after that. So, and I started to weave fabrics that were woven in natural colors, and then I would dye it afterwards. So that was my initial dyeing. My initial dyeing was yarn and table runners that I was weaving. So with Kool-Aid. So we still have some of them.
Do you like?
Well, it's just like with the feed. I mean, there's about 430 yards in there, even though the label says about 400. And unfortunately, we were having trouble with the mill at the time because we would take the skeins and check yardage in them, and they were coming, even though it said they were supposed to be 435 yards in a skein, we were getting 415, we were getting 420, so we put on 400 on the labels, because the one thing we've always found, even with our Pepino that we reel off ourselves, you will find there's always more than, because if a knitter gets 226 yards or 227, they're going to be thrilled. If they get 214, you're going to hear about it, you know. And we have had designers that measure the skeins. They will do the same thing that we do. They will measure the skeins, and they will always say your skeins are over, and they will put that on Ravelry. They will, and with social media, I mean, it can be around the world in no time. So you always want to make sure they give a bit more. And so, and we still, with the people who work with us, we will take skeins that they have done that day and double check to make sure that there is no over 225 yards in there. So it's just like with our skeins, 1 knot is acceptable in a skein, 2 knots is not.
Thank you.
So because anything that's got 2 knots in it gets made into samples, or it goes to the shops to use as a shop sample to be made up. So
Yeah, how do you come up with the names for the colorways?
sometimes they're inspired by areas or things, and sometimes they're named afterwards. So Orioles and Elms is the Northern Oriole, which used to be the Baltimore Oriole, and elm trees in the autumn. What is this one?
Behind you's a whole basket of minis too.
Oh, that's right, the ones behind. Studio tours. I used to be on a studio tour, and in our area, and the colors, and at that time with the buildings and with the leaves and that's how that one got inspired. Stonewash is supposed to look like, of course, stonewash denim.
Yes.
And then we have Oz Opal. It's supposed to look like opals. There's one that's called County Road 40. And County Road 40 is an area right by us where there must have been a homestead at one time, because there's old cisterns still there, and the springs run through them, and it's crystal clear, really cold water. And the marsh marigolds grow in the area, so it's all green and with a little bit of yellow. So and it's a place that I like to just sit and contemplate life, and it's really tranquil. It's just beautiful, and I mean, you just get the mosses, the greens, and just that little sound of the trickling water coming through, and it's lost. I mean, you just could sit there. I could sit there for quite some time, but then dying wouldn't get done. So would not be good. The Times, which is supposed to be like a newspaper. Dragon fruit. This one went a bit darker, but it's the colors like the dragon fruit. I mean, I really should have stippled black on it for the seeds in the dragon fruit.
Do you have aspen in there?
Sorry?
Aspen?
Aspen 6. Aspen 6 came about because we have aspen trees in the area on our property. We've been planting beech trees and aspen trees, and I think Robert planted 6 of them. And so that's how that got its name. Sometimes it's bizarre things like we're avid, we listen to the CBC a lot. And so something will be on, and it'll inspire a name, because it's just funny how things happen. You'll be looking at something, and they'll be talking, and I'll say, hey, wait a second, this sort of relates to, or else I think there's one called Galaxy M385, and they were talking about, I forget, some space, obviously some space thing they were doing, and it triggered something in Robert's mind. I have to ask when we're driving sometimes, where did the name come from myself? Because I have to tell you. I have to think of, okay, I need to know behind it. Cass Elliot. So I think this was from a. You saw pictures of her, and there was certain color clothing she had on. Same thing with one we have called Jessie Norman, which is she's an opera singer from the United States. She specializes in German opera, and we saw a concert that she was in, or she was singing, and she had on this beautiful blue shimmering dress, and that's the colors that are in the colorway. So yeah, so I mean that's how the names come up. Forest of Ferns. So we have a lot of ferns in the area, and in the fall when they're dying, so you get the green and you get the gold together. So that's how names come about. So 5 weeks ago I had surgery up. That's why I'll be going pardon. I had surgery on my left ear, and I couldn't. I wasn't hearing very well, and after the painkillers they put me on were quite delightful. And I kept saying, I want to do a series called Stoned, and because I just was in such a mood, I was so giddy. And I said, can we do a bunch of colorways called the Stoner series? So I want to go out and die yard and see what I come up with in this condition. And
It was popular in October.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. But I wasn't allowed to lift anything heavy for several weeks because of the pressure. If I put pressure on my head and that, but I thought, that would be a lot of fun, But not everyone sees the same sense, has the same sense of humor. Oh, these. So these are, believe it or not, were dyed side by side. So this is. Oh, sorry, not that.
Yeah.
See, even I'm like, wait a second here, because we untwisted this one yesterday. This and this are exactly the same. They will knit exactly the same. So this was this. So we took this skein, put it on an umbrella. We took this skein, put it on an umbrella swift, and this is what you got because it's been So if we put this on and could rewind it exactly the same as it was when it started, it would look like that. So. But
another reason to have lots of store samples and swatches out.
Because
right?
people, you don't realize it. So this really throws people out. Even trying to explain it, if you don't have it in your hand, is hard. So
I've been struggling trying to, when I look at a skein, thinking, well, how is that going to knit up?
Right.
I would think that would be totally different.
Oh,
and
yeah.
not, and yeah.
So.
Okay, that's
See,
mind-boggling.
When with the Pepino and with the fin, as I said, it comes in a 1 kilo hank. So for keeping color consistency through that dye lot, it's easier for us to do it that way. And so it gets re-reeled, and you end up with these ones. So I mean, you can see the same sort of basically, even though it's a different colorway, you end up ending up with the same effect.
Do you mind if we take the label off that one, Richard?
No.
Just so people can see the colors.
Can you talk to us
See the
too
yellow.
about popularity? Are you seeing speckles still as popular? Are they?
I have heard that now people are wanting to go more towards variegated, and semi-solids are going to be the thing that are going to happen. Everything has what's the word?
Life cycle?
A life cycle, or like when fashion comes in and out. Because I mean, you look at colors that that we used to do, and they no longer being done. The popularity is not there anymore. But everything, it's like mohair seems to be coming. Brushed mohair all of a sudden is coming back in. A fad. That's the word I was looking for. So it's yarns have fads too. Remember eyelash yarn? That So I still have some. It was great in the weavings. I mean, it gave it a lot of interesting texture and color, and that's so this is how it was dyed in the pan. So that's how
it's the same as that.
So and that's exactly the same. So it's just that this has got twisted. So but yeah, so the pans are about that length for these ones. So that's it. And
So Richard, when you dye that, I mean, you're dyeing a bigger hank, or you're dyeing several hanks together,
right,
at the same time. So each individual hank of yarn, if it's, say you make, I don't know, 7 skeins of Pepino out of one dye. They're not going to be exactly the same.
No, they're not going to be. In the hanks, it's a lot easier for us to do, for me to do if it's in the hank. But I mean, I try to keep it fairly consistent from one hank to the next, but it's going to be atmospheric pressure will change your color, your dye color. Sometimes it'll be a bit brighter. I have found for myself during thunderstorms or low ceiling that the colors turn out very bright. So for us, so that has an effect. How long we leave it in the pan. If it's going to be, I cannot leave stuff in pans, overnight because the colors will go way too dark.
So I don't know much about dyeing. So can you describe how you're doing? Are you doing like one skein at a time, or one hank at a time, or 10 or 20? And are the colors like in a pan? And there's this color, and this color, and then.
For the Pepino and the Fin, I do it, as I said, in the 1 kilo hank. So it's basically a square that's about yay thick. So, or depending on the Fin's a bit thicker, so it's about yay thick. It's a square of 1 kilo of yarn. So that's dry, 1 kilo dry. So when it's wet, it's it weighs about 5 pounds, and it goes into a pan. So for certain colorways, they're done in a pan. Certain colorways are done in pots. So I have big, the pots like they use in the military for making meals. So they're all stainless steel. Everything's stainless steel. So they go into, either a pot or into the pan. So, and that's how they're dyed. So,
and the different colors are in there.
The semi-solids are done in pots. So they're done in a big pot. So, and it's very technical. I know the big hank goes onto an IKEA toilet. It's funny. For toilet brush, for cleaning the toilet, it worked. It's a circle at one end, and it's the frame, that was there, and it holds the hank open nice and neatly, and we roll it in the pot, so it rolls around on this thing, and so it's amazing what what you find works really well. To apply to get the dye into the yarn, I use a chopstick and a piece of dowling. So, and it works really neat. And I was saying yesterday, to me this was the ultimate in how people can know how to market things. My chopsticks aren't just chopsticks, they're premium Chinese chopsticks. It says right on the package, premium Chinese plastic. And I thought, okay, there's somebody who's got through effort to make sure that it's marketed well. So, but yeah, so
Not just
a chopstick and a piece of doweling. Of course, the piece of doweling, they're cut for about the same length as a chopstick, but they're really well sanded, because anything, you're going to get friction on it. You're going to end up with the yarn fraying a bit. So, so yeah. So pots, and my dyes come from several different suppliers. I do use liquids and I use powders. All the colors are exclusive to me because we buy the base powders and then mix the stuff ourselves. So, but I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we have a special room just to store the dye, and I walk in there sometimes when I need to replenish it. I'm like, you sit there and think, how much? Because dye is not cheap by any means. Some of these dyes are $90 a kilo and up. So, and you cannot buy just 1 kilo at a time. You're having to buy like 5 and 10 kilos.
So, like 2.2 pounds or something?
Yeah. So, and I mean, and the thing is that affects us, and I'm sure it affects Carolyn too. Sometimes they discontinue colors, and they do not let you know. They do not give you advance warning that the colors have been discontinued, and all of a sudden, so then you are having to create that color from dyes that you already have. So, sorry? And so you're sitting there doing all kinds of weird things you'd never think you would do, and the notes you're making, it's just, you got to keep track of all this stuff. But yeah, they will discontinue. And I have said to the supplier, can you give me a heads up if something, and some companies that manufacture don't even let the sales reps know.